I'm feeling sick and tired. Why is that? Well, my cells are sick and tired. What do they need? Voltage. What do they need? Power. If they have power, then they can perform what? Everything. Cellular function, repair, injury repair. They can generate more stem cells. They can give the energy to those stem cells to mature. Stem cells have mitochondria in them as well. So what do they need? Power, energy for the cells to then go and fulfill their destiny.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation. You know, it has long been said that the future of healing is in frequency, in sound, and in light. And we have been, as a community, freedom, truth, health, spiritual community, we've been working on bringing this information out to the people. And it's so wonderful to see that there is a momentum going. And I want to discuss the momentum specifically of light and the healing effects of light with our friend and wonderful guest today, investigative journalist, health researcher who's produced documentaries that were seen by millions of people, Mr. Jonathan Otto. So good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Gene. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you. You know, you're engulfed in red light right now, yeah. But I want to ask you something. When you're in one field for so long, and when you're talking about something for so long, and then you see the momentum play out, and finally people accepting that this is real, that this is working, that red light is doing miraculous things. How's it for you? How's it for you who's doing it every day?
Oh, it's beautiful. I appreciate you saying that. I think, well, you know, I defer to people like Niels Svensson, who in 1903 won the Nobel Prize for light therapy reversing chronic disease, lupus vulgaris. It was what that was won around. And so he's long deceased. I mean, this was 120 years ago. So you know, I could just imagine all the people that have been involved in this therapy, the specific light therapy for reversing disease, and how long it's been for, you know, mainstream clinics like Cleveland Clinic to then say this is, you know, one of the most effective therapies against the most broad array of diseases. And then it just to keep going throughout the world, thousands of published studies on mainstream journals, the Lancet Oncology, PubMed, all the top hitters. The pharmaceutical complex has touted that this photoimmunotherapy, which is a form of red light therapy, will be the 5th leading treatment to cancer next after surgery. So it's it's amazing. And then sometimes it just feels like it's too late for the people that you care about the most. And I wish I had have known about this, you know, decades ago when I lost people from cancer. And so there's many different solutions. Like right now, my mother-in-law, like I just was out, you know, when I said, hey, just wait a second, just before we started. And I'm getting my mother-in-law just helping because, you know, like families go through things and it's not easy to, you know, afford these types of things, biological dentistry. And so we're getting her root canals taken out. And this was causing her kidney, one of which she donated to her husband, my father-in-law, to fail, which would then mean that she, you know, that's going to cut her life short. And so we're not willing to let that happen. So we're helping with that, and it's directly correlated, and they discovered that. So I just got that news 10 minutes ago. Like the kidney function is directly correlated with our mouth. And so as you'll see, like here, Gene, this is all about, you know, getting people answers and solutions. But I appreciate you asking about how red light therapy is finally landing and people understand it. Not to the great, like most people still only understand it that it's like good for cosmetic stuff and they use face masks. That's almost everyone knows about that now. Most people don't know that red light therapy is arguably the greatest treatment against cancer and autoimmune disease, and they don't know that mechanism. But yeah, so we're still in the journey though.
Just quickly on your mother-in-law, we just had this discussion with our dear friend Tim James of Chemical Free Body of how just pervasive that actually is, and how these standard medical dentist treatments are causing all kinds of problems down the line. So I'm so glad that she figured that out and is getting that taken care of. And I also wanted to say something that most people don't know is that When people like you talk about something with so much heart and inspiration, it is almost always because it has created a tremendous shift in their lives and in the lives of their loved ones. And now they want everyone to know about it, because when something helps you and you have a good heart, you want everyone to know about it. You want everyone to have that opportunity, right? And so this is what people, I think, also need to know. It's all personal to us. Every single thing is personal to us, and that's why we share it with others. Why is it personal to you? Why is red light therapy personal to you?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Gene. It's beautiful, and like I mentioned, I'm like everyone that's watching this. We've all had someone that we know and love and care about suffer, and we've all had people that we care about die. And it's it's easier to deal with when you think that nothing could have been done. Like, for example, if somebody dies at 100 years old, you're grieving that you lost them, but you're not sitting there feeling like there's an injustice done. Like they made it to 100. Like my grandma just came a couple years short of that, 98 years old. And so we didn't feel robbed. We felt her funeral was a celebration of life, even though I cried bitterly. And that was only 2 years ago. And we gave her many more years than what she, by God's grace, because she had a lot of different challenges because of interventions that her daughters that are nurses were putting into her body. And so for her, you talk about me talking about detox, these things worked even in the elderly. And I'll show you that even some of the studies and some of the findings that we've had with light therapy. But these are the reasons, Gene, like where I've seen too many people suffer from things that in many cases could have been turned around in a single week. And I'm going to show that in this like interview where I'll reveal some things I revealed to you off camera that were almost unbelievable. And when you watch your loved one just suffer, and everyone suffers when one is suffering. If my wife is suffering, I'm suffering, my boys are suffering, quality of life is taken away. Like we have to do everything we can. And so, yeah, that's why it's personal to me. And I when I produced The Truth About Cancer close to 12 years ago now, that the hit documentary series that became the main stay for not only patients and lay people around the world, but doctors then use this resource. Like now, fast forward 12 years to have the technology that we have available to us, and for things that were only accessible in very expensive treatments, and you kind of like waited until something happened, and then you would, if you could afford it, go pay $50,000 to get 3 weeks of treatment and hopefully put your cancer in remission. We've just kind of blown past all that, where we've got things that people can do from home that cost nothing in comparison and get people ahead of it. Actually, they cost nothing even in comparison to the regular supplement. So it's just really amazing once you do a comparison and understand how it works. And so that's where it gets real for me, Gene.
You know, like you say, most people go to either cosmetic treatments for their skin, or, there's some aches and pains, muscle soreness, what else. But most people don't know how deep this goes. In the studies that you're about to share with us show that just unbelievable results that people are having with simply exposing themselves to light therapy. What is one of those that even blew your mind? Maybe
yeah, exactly. No, I'll
because you
share
showed me some,
time.
and I'm out. My mind was blown.
I know it's for me. Don't shoot the messenger. If it's in the studies, if the studies were conducted without a conflict of interest, which they were, and they correspond with each other, then it's just the proof is in the pudding, and it's there in front of you, and you then either have to kind of just be a naysayer and just doubt, or just say, well, wow, like maybe everything has changed. Maybe the way that we've all thought about disease and sickness and the impending doom that we like arguably all facing has just changed. And here's a great example of this. This is a cutaneous lymphoma. So it's a blood cancer, like every cancer known to be terminal if people can't turn around. The mainstay, the treatments that are available are typically they're very toxic. And so even if you beat the cancer, you can actually have major complications because of these toxic interventions that you've gone through, and the spreading that happens with surgery by cutting into it even biopsies having issues. So here you see 2 treatments. And so it says it in figure 1, and this is PubMed. Everyone that's kind of reads a bit of PubMed here and there can see that font and understand it. You could just put in the keywords, find the studies yourself. So this was a complete response in the patient after 2 sessions. Am I telling people that that's going to happen for everyone? No. And the other thing is, but is it happening for people in the clinical studies? Yes, it is. And so, but this is something as well. So to educate, this is not just red light therapy or photobiomodulation, which is light therapy in general. This is photodynamic therapy, which is where you're adding a photosensitive element like methylene blue. That's the one that kind of everyone's talking about. Maybe because RFK was putting it in his water on a plane and was mixing it. Maybe because if you put into ChatGPT of all the photosensitizers, in this case, this was methyl aminoleuvolinic acid. So it's another form of photosensitizer where it absorbs in the body. So you put it topically in this sense, or you ingest it. In the case of methylene blue or curcumin or berberine, and these are all photosensitizers, they cause a heightened absorption of light into the body and the cells in general, including into the tumor cells. And then that causes the apoptosis, which is programmed cell death through electromagnetic waves, which red light is, stimulating the body to produce reactive oxygen species, including singlet oxygen, which is incredibly powerful. Like, it's fluorescent, so your body produces light when stimulated by light. Then these go and seek out disease cells, even precancerous cells, and destroy them, which would be senescent cells, disease cells that haven't died. And then you see these in, so this here, these are the clinical studies. That this was the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation, and they reported a 60 to 90% effectiveness rate, which is amazing. Like, how could you not do this? And we're talking
Excuse
about.
me, I just have a question. Did I understand it right?
Tell me.
Yeah. So the methylene, the methylene combined with or let me put it this way: it is a vehicle that helps the light get to the places better, faster, stronger. Is that kind of where?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Well, I didn't know this until today, and I'm like, okay, so this is like supercharging it. Yeah. Okay. Totally. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh no, exactly. No, absolutely. And keep narrating us through, because I don't like talking to myself. So this was a pilot study published in 2006. So you see this. So it's a small study. It's only 3 people. I'm going to show you some major studies, like 400 people, but let's look at a small one here. And again, they use a PDT, photodynamic therapy. They're using a photosensitizing agent. This is aminoleuvolinic acid, ALA, not to be confused with alpha lipoic acid. In all cases, they're covering it up for 4 hours after. Then they're using a 630 nanometer wavelength. And there's the fluence, the power. All treated patients had complete remission, defined as a clinical and histologic complete absence of cutaneous B-cell lymphoma. Get this, after a maximum of 2 photodynamic therapy sessions at a 1-week interval. No patient experienced particular side effects, and the pain was easily managed after the PDT sessions. Unbelievable. But then go back to the image. Okay, well, now we're even seeing a before and after. Is this CGI? Did somebody mess with us? Is this real? And then you keep going through the studies and see, okay, well, let's just see if it corresponds. Is there anything else it's reacting with? And here's a breast cancer study. They used 4 different wavelengths of light. So this is where most doctors in clinics that even have red light therapy beds don't know what I'm sharing with you, and I'm often educating them. And I wish they did, because watch how important it is to know this information in this case. So 4 different wavelengths were used: 615, 630, 660, and 730. So they're all visible red wavelengths of light. So they're all very close. Those numbers are quite close to each other. And it was used for both non-triple negative and triple negative breast cancer origin cell lines. So it's a in vitro study. So it's in a petri dish, but it's human cell lines. And so it's been shown by MTT assay that at a 24-hour post-exposure time point, only LED red light with wavelength 660 nanometers possessed anti-proliferative effects against both cell lines, with a 40% reduction of cell viability. That means that the proliferation, the growth of the cancer dropped by 40% in 24 hours. So notice how similar that is to the lymphoma study, where it was a week of treatment. And then, so I'll let you kind of gasp for air in a second.
No, I'm just amazed at the numbers, at the time spans. 2 treatments in the span of a week, you see that kind of results, that we saw in a photo. 24 hours. We're talking about no time at all. Think about what the standard is. what they project. You're going to do 3 months of this, and then you're going to do 3 months of that, and most likely you're going to lose your hair, and you're going to do all of that stuff. And here we're talking about 2 weeks and seeing those kinds of results, or 24 hours. That's, that is mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing.
So awesome, right? And then again, a disclaimer, like, am I saying that everyone can expect that? No, I think that, like, if you're battling a chronic condition, that you should just be happy with whenever that resolves itself. And but is it awesome to know that therapies can work so quickly? Yeah, it's amazing. So this is an 87% response to lung cancer, including unresectable lung cancer, meaning that it can't be operated on. So there's really no hope for these people. And so this was an overall response of nearly 87%, improving patient quality of life. And it's a new and promising anti-tumor strategy. I'm not saying that 87% went into remission. This was just saying that they had a significant response where they were showing that that therapy was working for them, which could mean remission. It's a blanket term in this case, but the studies here on bone cancer are showing that even near infrared, which is 800 up to 10 or 1100 nanometers, that's invisible, but it's penetrating the bone. So right now I've got light coming into my body, including near infrared, which you can't see it. You could see the red, but you can't see the near infrared. It's going into the bone, causing the bone to, again, generate reactive oxygen species, including with the photodynamic aspect where they're adding things to help, and it's working. So here's the big one that I was sharing, and you can see it straight from the study here. This was published in the Lancet Oncology. You'll see this here, and they found that half the patients that were treated with, this was vascular targeted photodynamic therapy, which is, again, it's photodynamic therapy. It's the same treatment. 49% go into remission, complete remission, compared to 13.5% in the control group, which is a 400% increase. So, like, do the math on 13.5. It's about 4 times the success if you had light therapy. And this is not a small group. This is 413 participants, 10 control centers in Europe, and a 2-year study. And the reason why the result wasn't better is, to me, if I would tell you my feedback, is because some of the therapies that they're getting at the same time are also combating and weakening their immune system. So think about that. This is a mainstream study. They're using conventional therapies. Those are causing issues. So people could either do integrative like this, or consider doing purely what's considered alternative therapies, but then stacking those. Because, again, this is just one. Like, we're not talking about people taking, like, apricot seeds, or doing coffee enemas, or doing urine therapy, which has anti-neoplastons, which are anti-tumor cells. We're not talking about hyperbaric or hydrogen water or CDS. I won't say that in detail because that's a careful one to talk about. But yeah, so what do you think, Gene? What do you think, my man?
Well, what you're talking about, the stacking options is kind of the stuff that we do, that we have been doing for quite some time. To me, we invite people into what seems like an alternative universe, but it's really rediscovering the potency of nature, and red light is mimicking, the red light therapy is mimicking nature. It's mimicking light. That's what it's bringing. Hydrogen, water, all the stuff that you mentioned. So I'm just blown away every time you share these studies and you bring new ones, how effective and fast it is. You see, that's different from most other things. Most other things kind of take much longer. And I think it reminds me of those, before we did our last show together, I was really sick and I had to reschedule. And I remember just emailing you and saying, hey, I'm sick as a dog. I can't do the show today. I'm sorry. And you just sent me 3-4 things that I was all doing. But I said, the red light, I completely forgot about the red light. So I put it on, and the headache was the most pressing thing. And literally within 20 minutes, gone. And so that's always, to me, like, if you can, not everyone's going to have that, sure. But if you can have something in your home that gives you very fast relief, that can sometimes be the difference between you having a decent day or a day that's horrible. And that is very, very, very powerful to me. So, and I love that mainstream institutions, as much as I have my problems with them on other levels. I love that they're starting to see that. Why do you think that is? Because they're rejecting so many other things. Why do you think that is?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good point. I wonder that as well. I think that it's because there's such a groundswell that it becomes so undeniable. And there are these weird kind of loopholes, if you will. So there could be something that is so effective, but they've been able to kind of bully the individuals behind it that like it's quite unique and centralized. Whereas light therapy, like because it's been around for the last 120 years and I mean, throughout all civilizations, millennia, it's been there. But the studies become so undeniable and they're getting produced out of all different facilities. I shared studies from America, Europe, and it then becomes kind of impossible. And so then these mechanisms exist that people are able to fund this research, and researchers want to do generally good things and they end up just doing bad things because their financial interests just end up pushing them that way. But it that's my best explanation. And that, but the problem is the reason why, like, tell me which of your loved ones got offered any of these therapies when they got diagnosed with the big C. Right? Which one did? See what I mean? So that's the other problem, that what I'm sharing exists and it's here, but I'm also like, for all intensive purposes, you're watching right now a Fringe show, and Gene and I are not worried about being a Fringe because we're not exactly wanting to be mainstream with the way things are going. So we're not wanting to be Fringe. That's just where we are. But my point being, you're learning about this on a Fringe show. Nobody told you about it. Your doctor didn't tell you about it. Your friends didn't get recommended it when they got diagnosed with any kind of condition. They had to seek out an alternative health practitioner who might have known about it, who probably didn't know any of the things I just shared, because I'm sharing this with the world leading doctors all the time. And they're like, they've never seen the studies. I'm like, bro, talk about it. Or sis, talk about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Talk about it.
Ladies. Yeah.
And there's another thing to this too, is just like with everything else, when something starts gaining momentum, today markets are flooded immediately. So people go to Amazon to go, oh, there's this device, $80 or $180 or whatever, and then they don't have the same kind of experiences or results that you shared here. And then you go, okay, well, the devil's in the detail, or the solution is in the detail. You are operating a family, sort of a family oriented and a family company, and you're producing high quality. You guys are producing high quality and distributing high quality devices. There's a vast difference between red light and red light. Can you share a little bit why a lot of the things don't work and why some of the things work so great?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that, Gene. And yeah, man, because like I would be happy to purely educate on this, and I'm glad to. But then people have to end up, if they want to get these types of results, they need to get something to do that. And like if you don't get anything, but you learn something from this, then make sure to get sunlight, particularly the morning sunrise and sunset. And you may need your sleep in the morning, depending on like how things work or where you're at. Like, because if you've got a terminal condition, you basically I don't believe in terminal conditions, like a terminal condition or just something like some kind of life-threatening disease. You should generally stop your alarm and not, find a way so that you can get exactly how much sleep your body's wanting you to get. So the timing in the day then becomes really helpful, that you can access it at any time. And the irradiance is the key, because it's intensifying the sunlight. But if you can get that sunrise and sunset, you will get some of the benefits of what we're talking about. And then in a chicken lamp, you'll get some of the benefits as well, because those chicken lamps that you could buy for $10 are emitting near infrared and red light. That's why it's red. And so it will give a ton of benefit. And the difference is, and I'll share with you guys, because like one, I want people to know all the different tools that they have available to them. So there's two, like an incandescent bulb, and the sunlight itself. And I do believe that even if you're using like devices like ours as an example, that you should also combine with sunlight, because you're getting the complete spectrum in the sun. But it's interesting. I just showed you studies that were based on LED, light emitting diode, which people typically understand as negative. But
So would I until you explained it to me. So have I.
yeah, there you go. There you go. But light emitting diode means exactly just that. LED is just a light that, or a diode that emits light. So that is not inherently bad. So the question is, how does it work? And it's kind of like, imagine like a garbage truck comes over and, bumps into your house. Or anyway, I'm just kind of come up with some random scenario, or somebody is in or this race of person, like they, cheated you of money. So now all people of that race now cheat you of money, or
Okay. So it's a gross generalization,
that's the problem.
which humans tend to do. You hear one thing, oh, I get it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's how the mind works. And so then it becomes harder to convince somebody that they understand something incorrectly. Like I showed you studies that were based on LED, light emitting diode, and they were so effective in so short a time. They don't achieve these things by putting toxins in your body. They achieve these results because they're very healing and non-toxic. And I'll show you like an example. So here's an EMF meter. And so right now it's hitting it at a 0. I'm going to put it over my computer. Hit a 10. Okay. So which people are sitting on their laps over their testicles. And anyway, so now I'm going to put it over this device and it's at a 0 and it's touching it. Okay. So it's a 0 EMF emission, but like if the light doesn't flicker and it's a consistent source, then it doesn't cause a problem. The only reason why the lights in homes are causing those problems is because it's like turning a switch on and off continually. That's going to damage your eyesight, and that's what it's doing. But you can't tell that it is because the flicker rate is one that you can't see. But often if you got a high quality camera or even your phone, you'll see all this weird flickering. You're like, why is this flickering? So that's the flicker of the light. So that's one thing. But the irradiance then is the key, because like if I got now the difference between like a bulb that you would get, for example, an incandescent or halogen bulb, 90% of the power goes into heat and about 10% into the light. What we're talking about is light therapy for disease reversal. From an LED device, 90% goes into the light, 10% into the heat. And that's why there's very gradual heat, but it's actually still quite hot. And you look at that, like you got fans in the back because it's got to offset even the heat that it has. So and the crazy thing is about that is that it ends up costing less by far for a device like that over once you get into the years than a single $10 bulb because of the power consumption. So you end up saving, but like the irradiance becomes somewhere in the vicinity of 10, 20 times, even 50 times more power in the delivery, because in those bulbs, you're delivering most of it into the far infrared spectrum and then most into the mid infrared. But the optical window is between 600 to 1100 nanometers. And so it's not getting much in there. And what it does get in there then falls there to like maybe 2% or something like that. And you can look at studies that have been done on that. So that's why it's so effective. Once light gets into the body, it stimulates the mitochondria. Mitochondria then produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Then and like reactive oxygen species aside, just cellular voltage, just think, I'm feeling sick and tired. Why is that? Well, my cells are sick and tired. What do they need? Voltage. What do they need? Power. If they have power, then they can perform what? Everything. Cellular function, repair, injury repair. They can generate more stem cells. They can give the energy to those stem cells to mature. Stem cells have mitochondria in them as well. So what do they need? Power, energy for the cells to then go and fulfill their destiny to become an eye cell, a heart cell. But they're getting stuck. And once people realize that, they're getting stuck midway. And when they get stuck midway, guess what we call that? Cancer, because they haven't formed properly. And that it's your own body and it's a low voltage environment. So you want to put high density, high power, high radiant light into the body, cause the cells to react. And so what you want to look for when you're looking for devices is look for devices that have the wavelengths that you need. But then which of the wavelengths you need, that's where everyone's going to get lost and say, well, I don't know, because I don't want to get any problems as well as the problems that I have. So kind of have everything. And so, and you can, and that's what we did with our devices. We took the 9 most proven wavelengths and then we stacked them all in to the same device, which and I'll show it on the device in a moment, but 480, 590, 630, 660, 670, 810, 830, 850, 1060. And you can see how they're penetrating the epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous tissue, muscle, bone, interior tissues. They're all landing at different points, and all of them are important because your body has functionality at all of those levels in the body. And so you're stimulating them all at the same time. And then you say, yeah, but I'm going to get confused. I'm not going to know how to use it. And which wavelength do I put on for what condition? The key is to have all the wavelengths going at the same time. Just hit all, turn it on, like just hit the on button. But you can customize it, and you can take any wavelength out. Like, for example, I could take 480 out of this in the evening because I don't want blue light in the evening. Even though blue light from the rainbow, blue light from the sun, it's all actually very powerful. It's the best for skin rejuvenation, skin bacteria, and it's very, very healing. It's actually been studied in neonatal care. Babies in the womb, they respond extremely well to 480. The stem cell regeneration aspect happens heavily around the 470 to 480 nanometer mark. So impressive. But yeah, so that's one of the things. The other things to look for, and then you could see how these wavelengths show up is in weight loss, fat burning, cellulite reduction, metabolism, and they're all the different wavelengths. And then you've got anti-aging, acne, scars, rosacea, and then hair growth, sun damage, wrinkles and fine lines, droopy eyelids, under eye circles, and broken capillaries, pain relief, wound healing, injury healing, oral health, muscle building, athletic performance, post-recovery workout, mental stamina, cognitive performance, asthma, depression, anxiety.
You shared this 2 shows ago. You said it can be used on your pets too. So,
Yeah.
And it works, which is so important to so many of us who love animals and who are like, could this help my dog arthritis or whatever? Can you quickly share?
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, that's fine. We got time, but however you want to go for length is fine as well. So like, here's an example where you've got an option to even choose like a pet mode, which has a certain configuration of how we've developed that based on all the wavelengths that are most applicable. And you could use that, or you could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try anything with my pet. I'm just going to put all, and like, cause there's no wavelength that's been proven ineffective or unhelpful or harmful for anyone for any condition. Like that, it's just, yeah, this wavelength's damaging for somebody. That's not been proven. But it's been proven that certain ones are extremely effective and more effective than something else. But so then you can, make selections like that. But yeah, as you can see, it's so bright, it's like blowing out everything here. That's the point of a device like this. And so that's really awesome to get this on your pet. And the cool thing is like everything else is like, okay, well, if I buy this and this, and I've just got like 2 bottles of something in my hand, right? And so this one cost me, let's say this one cost me probably more like $50, and this one cost me more like, maybe 30. But let's just imagine they both cost me 30. And now I'm at $60 just for these treatments. And now if I got a supplement for my pet or something like that, then the pet's got one. We kind of just inherited a dog randomly. He had no home, but we actually we officially have a cat. We have 2 boys, which you just met, Gene. And so we're a family of 4, and then with the animal 5, and depending on the adoption with the dog 6. But so now like I've got to do the math on that. And like you stack up a year of treatment at like $60 a month at the end. That's what, 12, 6,
720.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, 720. Thank you. And then over 10 years, then you're at,
It's
7,200. Yeah. But then if you times it by the number of people in the family,
yeah, it gets out of hand. It most certainly gets out of hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have thought of that. You wouldn't have sat there and gone, okay, this is what this is costing me. Like it's costing me, like if I've got each of my family members on those 2 supplements per month, it's costing me, 720 just for the humans times 4. So we're at, 2,800, and then, and over 10 years, 28,000. And so you think that it's not costing you, but it is. And so the key is to like recalibrate and then say, well, how do I do something that's going to then cost me like nothing over time, and then make it really possible? Because we just went through like what could have been thousands of pages of all the studies that have occurred on red light. And I really encourage people to do this on ChatGPT and Google, put in different conditions that you or loved ones are struggling with and put in red light therapy. One device is used for the family and for your loved ones if they're in proximity. And then it's a 50,000 rated lifespan hours, which means it lasts a lifetime. If it's just one person, it's like, I don't think it would last 274 years, which is where 30 minutes a day for 50,000 hours over. So because I'm on the beach,
I think it's safe to say it's going to last
a long time, like a life.
Yeah.
They're designed to last a lifetime and under FDA Class 2 certification. So those are things to think about. Like and so relatively the cost becomes abysmal. Like you're talking about like cents, not like it's like a cup of coffee a day. It's not even that. It's just like it's a few cents a day. So just think about that over the time, and then you realize, man, I can't afford not to be doing this. I can't afford a cancer diagnosis. No one can, right? It's like 300,000 to 1.2 million is the average treatment, and then it's covered under insurance, but that still wipes people out. And those treatments that you're going to get consigned might not be the ones that you want. If you're watching a show like this, they're probably not. So you want to get ahead of all this and not wait. And so I really just believe in that, right? And so I appreciate you getting me to share on that. And just the other specifications, the number one thing to look for, even above wavelengths, is irradiance, how much power is coming out of the device. And so we're at 205 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 3 inches. So then you would which is the highest tested irradiance of all devices on the market. And you can even get $150,000 devices that have much lower irradiance than that. That's typical, like the Novathor, the industry standard. It's just lower. The technology is different. It evolved, and I don't know why they didn't keep up. That's what I think. I'll let them comment if they see my video. But yeah, these are things to look for. And then we stacked dual LEDs, so 2 different wavelengths coming out of the same LED, which means that you're getting an even spread of red and near infrared. So each wavelength, each light has that coming out of it. And that's the like full body device that comes with the stand, which can be laid horizontal, and you can see the size of that. It'll cover all your organs at one time. So there are times when people say, oh man, I got the smaller one. I wish I got the bigger one, because then I would get it all done in one treatment. And so you could put your front to it for 15 minutes, put your back to it for 15 minutes. You're done for your treatment for the day. You could do as little as 15 minutes or even as little as 2 minutes. And I tell people to do that based on clinical studies. There are clinical studies that show a minute of exposure increase cell viability by 45%. So like you just got to think like I can fit a minute in, I can fit 5 minutes in, and that gets you on the right pathway. And and I'll share the one on thyroid in a moment if you got time for it, but I'll let you take over, Gene.
No. You keep going. You also have to let us know where people can find it, where they can find the different sizes. I also wanted to say something about that we every now and then have to mention. We are working and partnering with family-operated companies that are based on highest quality, like an obsession with excellence, integrity, but these are all family operated. These are not funded by the Amazons and the big corporations of the world. So one of those things is that you guys have had a tremendous amount of activity and a lot of orders. And, every now and then problems with the shipping company, which it happens. I just wanted to say, when you are investing in a family operated business that is staying away from the shady business practices and staying integrous, sometimes, cut them a little slack when something takes a few days longer. It's worth it. It's worth it to support those businesses. And this is how we vote. We vote with our dollars. We don't, that's the most effective tool that we have when it comes to supporting the companies and the people that are doing it the right way. So I just wanted to put it out there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's important to me to say that and to say, hey, yes, Amazon will give you the impossible conditions. You can return everything all the time at no cost, but we all know what the human cost is of doing that and what all the problems are associated with that and how much shadiness there is. That's a different beast altogether.
Exactly. And like, as with the fact that none of those companies that you don't have any connection to, you don't exactly know who's behind the curtain. You don't know which other people and trust like believe in that. I remember when Mike Adams got the device I sent out to him, he told me, and you see the shows we've done together, like the Health Ranger, he said, I've never seen this quality before ever in my life. Like, it's crazy. Like, I couldn't even believe this. It's like, what is this? And then next thing he tells me is like, I think it's going to be good for most people, but I'm in the sun a lot, so it probably won't make a difference. Like, bro, I was like, bro, you have no idea. Watch what happens. And then 3 days later on Signal, he's like, Jonathan, I can't explain to you what's happening in my body. I do a lot of things for my body. I cannot tell you why I feel so much better, and how my whole constitution, my body, and how I feel, my wife, like, we're feeling so much energy and so much hope and joy and optimism. Like, it was so cool. And I showed it to my wife, and she's like, this is so rewarding. I love what we do. And so it was cool. We're staying at a hotel.
And knowing Mike, he probably took it apart. He looked under the hood, and he just, that's what he does, right? I mean, he's going deep into everything. So I love it.
He's a great guy, and he's a good friend. But like, if my product sucked, he would be as integrous to the world to expose it and be like, sorry, Jonathan's my friend, but you know what? His product's harmful. And he would have done that because that's the kind of truth teller he is. And so, but he's had nothing but raving reviews. But like, and I remember like, of some people that like, had to wait a little longer than they expected in the past. And we've what happens, we become one of the fastest growing red light companies in America, which is amazing. But then sometimes it means that people are waiting a little bit longer than what they expect. But we put notices for that so people can know. And the key is like, the reason to order now is so you're at the front of that queue, and that like, do that before we sell out, right? So like, that's why it's really great to make a purchase now, because you're literally, the reason why people are willing to wait like 10 months for the EE systems was because it's so unique, and it was like the only one of its kind. And so people were doing that. We're talking about a few weeks, right? Like or a handful of weeks, and then you're like, you've got a product that's in your home for life. And I did a video with all these people that like, some of which were waiting a little bit, and they just were sharing these amazing testimonies, and like, women in their mid 90s that were getting back eyesight and all kinds of beautiful things. And so it's like people that were thinking short-sighted and just like this, kind of entitled, like, well, this is what I want to happen. It's like, yeah, well, we're here for you. And we're like, will these other companies get on calls with you and show you how to like deal with these hard challenges? Like, we don't charge for that. Like, we don't do we do all these education, like direct to people, to help people know how to use them. We put ourselves on the line by even explaining these things, which it's kind of gray. Like, should we be explaining these details? I'm not making claims, but here's what the studies say. So you've got so much like love and care and support, and it's so unique. And that's why, like, I was on the Flyover Conservatives show, like a big show, and we get hundreds of thousands of views on those episodes. And David and Stacey Whitehead and Colton are on, and they said, look, we've had so many guests, and I've been at like the big events like Clay Clark's Reawaken America. Every doctor that the name of is there going through on their show. And they said, look, of every health expert we've ever had on our show, by far, we've got the most transformations from you and from your products. And it's like, and then the daughter comes on, she's just on audio. She's getting married that weekend, which was a few weeks ago now. And she's like, menstrual issues her whole life, and digestive issues her whole life, no pain, no issues with menstrual cycle, no digestive issues. Her husband-to-be, now husband, some injuries, he couldn't move his shoulder above here, like within a day, able to have complete fluid movement. We talked about all that live on the show. So there's just like these beautiful things. And to me, with the right Irradiance, with the combination of the right wavelengths, with the dual component of an even spread of light into the body, and with the teaching around like things like photodynamic therapy, in which case, by the way, we talked about photodynamic therapy. All the people I just mentioned, none of them were doing photodynamic therapy. They're all just using the light by itself. So don't make it complicated. Most times I'm just doing the light by itself without any photosensitive aspect. It works in and of itself. Most of the studies are all on red light inherently, not with these other components. However, why did I get on those components? Some people watching this show have some big issues. Why not stack that and make that more effective? And that's cool.
This is as simple as it gets. It is an investment, a worthy one, by the way. You make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, which we appreciate. But here's the thing. You lay down for 15 minutes, twice a day or so, and you're going to have some tremendous effects from it. And it doesn't get much simpler, and things that aren't simple usually aren't working. So, Jonathan, tell us, where can people find the products and the different sizes and all the good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So myredlight.com. So really easy, myredlight.com. The company's Red Life. So but remember that we wanted to make the site really easy. So myredlight.com. And then you can even see, like, for people that want to see more education, you can watch some more videos there on the page. That being said, I really believe that the thing to think about with something like this is that you never know until you try it yourself. That's why we've got a 60-day money back guarantee, a 3-year warranty on our panels, and a 1-year warranty on the precision devices like the belts that strap onto you and stuff like that, like things like this. But you can get these devices and like whether it's something like the 200, which is this here, or the 300 Pro Max here, which is, you know, one of my strongest recommendations with something like that, with coming with the stand, being able to lay it flat if you want to lay under it, or, you know, put it up against you. All of the devices come with door pulley kits, so you could just mount it on your door. So, like, let's say, for example, you don't have much space, it'll just mount against your door, and you can use a pulley to go up and down. A really strong, robust, very safe system. It'll hold there, it'll never fall off, never happen. But that's very simple. And then then there are devices that you can put on your knee directly, or face mask, hats, you know, so you can navigate all that. Like a belt like this you can go around the sections of your body. So, like, there are some people that are like, hey, look, I don't have really much, so I just, you know, how do I get started? This would be a great way, because it's not just for a sore back. It's to put red light in your body wherever and over all your critical organs, and you can move it around. You could sit here, you know, I'm, you know, working away on an interview. I could have this on me without you knowing, and be getting red light therapy. I can use this and bring this with them whether I'm traveling. It's why we also bundled that in as a free gift when people get the panel with our, like, largest, or one of our larger panels with the RL Pro 300 Max. But that kind of gives you a good overview. And then we also have some combining therapies like the pulse electromagnetic field therapy with the PMF mats and sauna blankets, because sauna is far infrared. It's completely different. It's for raising the core body temperature. And, you know, instead of spending, you know, $6,000 on a sauna and then kind of waiting till it goes out of date and then having it in the garage where you don't use it, you can have it in front of your TV, you know, and just jump in a blanket for, you know, several $100s. It ends up becoming, and it's the same tech, right? It's far infrared. It may even give a better treatment because it's very closer. It's close, and so you're able to get that heat directly over you. So extremely effective therapies that you can pair up these therapies, and like you're circumventing all the time, energy, and money you spend on expensive clinics. And, you know, to get it, like one red light therapy session at a clinic, you know, you're talking about $100 a session if you're lucky, $200 if you're going with something that they're charging the higher side of that. So it's like you just take it in your own hands, and you end up, you know, making your life a lot easier that way. While I remember, I'll show you this one on the thyroid. I love this one because there are a lot of folks here that have struggled with thyroid health. I remember this one. I'll just tell you what this study was here of this woman, but it was her friend Shannon. So Elizabeth and Shannon both got devices at the same time. They kind of just helped out each other. And her friend Shannon had Graves' disease. And she was bedridden, so she could not walk at that point, but she previously was a marathon runner. And so what she did was got the red light over her thyroid for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and she had it directly there. And within that time, her doctors were flabbergasted because her numbers had normalized. She actually went and competed in the Boston Marathon in 2.5 weeks after the treatment. I'm not saying that that's an anecdotal study, but it's one that we verified as being true, and we would stand by that, as we would stand by the 92-year-old. I'll show you some images of her that regained eyesight from macular degeneration and myopia, so she could read the television actually within 20 minutes. And that's based on the clinical studies, where immediately you should expect a 17% improvement in eyesight after 3 minutes of exposure, which would mean that that could be the difference between reading and not reading. And that was on average. So some people were greater. And if you're younger, it was like 47%. And we're talking about short periods of time. But she went from having no peripheral vision to having complete peripheral vision. So that means that she's out like eating out at restaurants now and out of the home, whereas she was homebound. So these things can make a big difference. I love this study. This one was on red light therapy for thyroid health. And so this was 15 patients with chronic autoimmune thyroiditis. And so they had 10 sessions over 5 weeks. And they used the ultrasound tests, and they then did a 9-month follow-up. Okay, so see that 9-month follow-up. So like, why would you put somebody on 5 weeks of treatment, take them off it, and then follow up with them 9 months later when red light therapy is something that's ideally done, either at least daily, at least weekly, but daily if possible. And this was 2 sessions a week only. But here's what happened: like the patients all had a reduction in their LT4, so they didn't have to take as much levothyroxine, but 47% of them didn't need any at all. Their thyroid was producing LT4 by itself.
Incredible.
Isn't that cool? So what would happen is if they had it done 10 weeks, 20 sessions, would 80% have gone into remission? And what if they had have kept them on the treatment for the full 9 months? Would 100% go into remission? I'm surprised that the results were even that good. This one was in Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is one of the most common thyroid diseases. And then you've got like they all, this was 75 women, 74 women. Where is it? 74 women here. 2 groups, one with red light, the other one with regular treatment and red light. One with red light and regular treatment, the other one just with regular treatment. So at least you could see them. It's not that they weren't, both groups were getting regular treatment, but the wavelengths, the red light was the difference. And now it was only twice a week for only 3 weeks now. So even less time. But now after 3 and 6 months, again, they're off it. They showed better results in the red light group. They had lower levels of thyroid stimulating hormone, thyroid antibodies, and needed less LT4. They also saw improvements in body measurements like body mass index, hip to waist ratio, and body mass index, and hip to waist circumference. Pretty cool, right?
Well, it seems like there's, and it makes total sense when you get the science behind it and when you understand how it works. Then you're just saying it helps with everything because it goes to the core of where currently most people's problems are, and it supports the body in optimizing that again back to where it's supposed to be. So naturally, the body can then do all the work that it needs to do.
Yes.
When you get to the mitochondria, when you get this optimized, I'm just blown away by the numbers, by the speed of this, and I would encourage everyone. I'm thinking of this like, I understand that might be quite an investment to think about. I totally get that. But I look at things long term, just like Jonathan said, is if I do this, or if I sit my family down and say, hey, maybe we skip this and that this year. We don't do the big Christmas presents, but we do Christmas in July. And we go in on it together, and it supports the whole family, and everybody can use it and everybody can benefit from it. And we invest in our health and in our future and our energy. When people get creative, all kinds of ideas come up, and that's what I would encourage people to do. Jonathan, thank you so much for bringing all that. Your enthusiasm is so contagious. I love that, and thank you for bringing the A game always, man.
Yeah, bro, I appreciate you. That's really kind, and I love that your ideas and your solutions. What my vision is for red light therapy is that we provide it to the world for free, and that's where like people. What you do is when you get a red light device to put it in your home, I treat my children for free. Like they don't pay for it. I treat my wife for free because I was the one that kind of pursued this and made this and all that. And but my point being that, there are people that are homeless that deserve this treatment as well. Right. And so like, those of us that have any means at all, like what I believe in is us all sewing into ourselves and then being a beacon of light, pardon the pun, to the rest of the world. And so opening your home becomes like a healing center with just having a red light therapy device. Like just think about that for a second. Some of these studies, and dude, I didn't show this one. You've got to see this one before we go. This one is an example where everyone knows that a lot of people had their lives ruined after that big thing that happened over the last few years. Okay.
Yep.
About the things that got put in people's bodies. Also this thing that people caught that People
All of
suffer.
the above.
They
All of the
didn't
above.
they didn't get better. And they're still suffering, and their life is getting worse and worse. And some of them, you may have lost them already. And people on watching a show like this are more aware and more understanding of that's what happened. So this is what happened here. This is the European Society of Medicine. So just think about the fact that, and again, coming back to what I'm talking about, you could have people that you love and care about that come over and visit you for a week and then walk away as a different person. And wouldn't that be an amazing thing? Would that not deepen your relationship with that person? Would that, and not that you even care, but just the fact that they can be there for their families, like, isn't that just amazing? So together, acute symptomatic recovery from 64 to 84 minute long sessions. So you wouldn't have known that, because I was just saying 30-minute sessions, but like, this is acute. So you go into it for, like, you do 2 sessions at that length, right? So from an hour to an hour and a half. And so these acute symptomatic recoveries happened within 3 days for 62 out of 62 patients. What? All of them, 100% had a recovery from all acute symptoms. But a recovery from acute symptoms doesn't mean people got better. But here's what does. Full recovery occurred within 4 sessions. All but 2 cases resolved within 1 week.
Incredible. 60 out of 62. That's incredible.
And you're like, yeah, but I'm worried about inviting these people over because they're, they got something in their body that I'm worried about. Well, prophylactic benefits were recorded in 17 out of 17 asymptomatic to mild patients exposed to viral shedding of infected family members, meaning there was 100% protection for you when you're encased in the light. Forgive the Christian pun there, which is just think about it.
It's a good one.
Yeah, you're in the light, so why are you afraid of the darkness?
Yeah. Jonathan just put on his preacher hat right here. It's like
my granddad was a preacher. He was an evangelist in Australia. He was like a fierce evangelist that used to be a boxer that kind of took his same ethos of his combative. He was a force to be reckoned with. And so he used to set up tents and then just be preaching to nobody, and then people would start coming in, and he would have the place packed out and be baptizing everyone. He died, but he died when I was born. I was 1 when he died. So what do you think? I never got to know him, never got to meet him. Just knew the legend of my granddad, and what a scar through the family that caused. And it was a heart condition, so he had a heart attack, and so everyone lived with that. My grandma, my dad, and so it's yeah, you asked what motivates me, right? Photobiomodulation of long COVID outcomes include total resolution of dyspnea. So ability to maintain SpO2, oxygen above 97% without oxygen supplementation, relief from digestive distress, elimination of brain fog, improved memory recall, restored executive function, symptomatically managing emotional deficits. So this was, who struggles with these things? Everyone struggles with almost all these things to some degree, maybe one or the other, right? But who doesn't have digestive issues? Who doesn't have brain fog, memory issues? It's not just about that label, it's about you improving all these functions. And then they've 350 cases they've dealt with, but they couldn't resolve this many, 0.25%. But let's look at what they were. They were severe anxiety. So what's that? That's the fear of getting it, which you can't stop if you're watching the news. And then, so that's a news related issue, or a fake news issue. And this other one, nosophobia, which is the fear of getting diseases, which means that you can't really use those, which means it was 100% resolution. So anyway, fun facts.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Jonathan, myredlight.com, go check it out. I love that this momentum has happened. Like I said, the future and the present of healing is frequency, sound, and light. And we're starting to remember that and bring that back. So thank you for all the tireless work that you do, for going from show to show and preaching the red light gospel. See, I'm working with your puns here, my friend.
That's good. It's so funny because David Nino opened the show. He didn't say that he was going to do this. And he's like, welcome to the Good News podcast. And he says, this is what this is, because this is good news, what you're about to get. And yeah.
For a change. That's good. That's good. We need more of that. Brother, thank you so much for joining us again today. Such an honor.
Cheers, brother. We'll be in touch.
And Inspire Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon.